Hello and welcome to Scott Bryson Beyond the Service. Tonight we're going to talk a little bit about some geopolitics. The world is in turmoil, if you didn't already know, and we're going to get into it just for a little bit, not too long, because I'm sure you've been seeing plenty of this stuff on social media and you're probably about sick of it. I know I am, but it's important to stay informed. We're not going to worry. Worry does no good, but we are going to stay informed and hopefully things are going to work out good, or they're going to work out the way they're supposed to. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. But the Bible, which I have here with me tonight, talks about that. We're gonna read a few verses from that to give it some context. I get on here a lot and talk about how I'm not a preacher and I'm not a theologian and all that good stuff, and I'm not. But I am a believer in Jesus Christ, and He gives us some pretty straightforward talk here in the Bible, and we're gonna talk about that a little bit tonight. And hopefully you believe that and agree with that. If you don't, that's okay. You're welcome to have an open mind on this forum, unlike my friends on the other side of the aisle who love to talk about being open-minded and tolerant and all those buzzwords. They're really not. I think that as a as Christians, we are the most tolerant people. American Christians are probably the most tolerant. We talked about this on my podcast from Monday. It's a melting pot over here, and you're welcome to be whatever you are, and we take that for granted. Not what we want to talk about tonight, but that's a fact. And that sort of segues into this next point, which is free will. God gives us free will to do all the silly things we do, to include going to war with each other and choosing Him or not choosing Him. So hopefully, for my Christian brothers and sisters watching this tonight, this will make sense to you. And if you're a non-believer, maybe this will resonate a little bit and maybe you'll come around. So anyway, let's just get into it. So I was watching the news today, listening to some different clips like I'm sure you guys have been doing. And I was listening to Carl Higbie from Newsmax, who's a friend of mine, by the way. I met Carl in 2017. He's really good friends with Eric Trump. And I am too, by the way, which is kind of weird to say because he was my protectee. I protected him for 15 months. I was his detail leader. And when you spend that much time with a person, you're going to gravitate toward each other or you're going to hate each other's guts. Thankfully, he's a super cool guy, and so am I. I'm just kidding. But he's a super cool guy and just an awesome human being. And so I know what I'm talking about because I was with him every day. And the point I'm making to that is this. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree in any home. I've said that before. I'll say it again. Donald Trump is not the monster that people think that he is. Is he perfect? Nope. His name is Donald Trump. Just like my name is Scott Bryson and your name is whatever it is. It's not Jesus Christ, so you are not perfect. So before you want to cast aspersions on people, you need to pump the brakes a little bit and realize you got some issues too. We all do. So anyway, let's just get into this right here. So sorry for the glare on my glasses if that's happening, but I can't see to read anymore, which is really aggravating because Father Time is undefeated. We're going to go to Matthew 24, verse 6. It says here, these are red letters. This is Jesus Christ himself talking. He says, you will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places, and all these are the beginning of the birth pains. Now, I have a couple other verses here that we'll get to in a minute, but they're basically saying the same things. But you have to be under a rock if you don't know where I'm going with this right now, because China is ready to take Taiwan, and that can't happen. Sean Ryan's actually been over in Taiwan. I believe he interviewed their VP or somebody like really high up. A super cool interview to get. And we can't let Taiwan fall. We can't. And I know what I'm talking about on that front because when I was stationed in Hawaii with the Secret Service, I got some pretty in-depth briefings over there from the DOD counterparts. And I'm not at liberty to talk about them on here, but to say that China is the problem is an understatement of the year. Russia's not good either, but they're child's play compared to China. I'm just telling you. I know Russia and Ukraine have their thing going on, and that's not cool. You've got China trying to take over Taiwan and expand their empire across the globe. Not good. And then, of course, now we've got the stuff in the Middle East with Israel, God's chosen people, by the way, fighting off, every other person and their brother, it seems like, except us. We're still allies, and they're not perfect either, by the way, because they're human beings. But they are God's chosen people. I do believe that. And sometimes people say, well, that was the Old Testament. Now we have the New Testament. I understand. But I take my marching orders from the good book, and nowhere in here that I have found says, now that we have the New Testament, meaning the Gospels of Jesus Christ, that we throw away that old stuff. It doesn't say that. So Israel's God's chosen people, and we need to side with them, even though they have their flaws, just like we as Americans have our flaws, because we're all people and we're fallen people. But they are the good guys. They are God's people from my perspective, and because I didn't make that up, that's the word of God, and we need to be careful, because anytime that there's a conflict that's going, and World War III would be no joke. I don't know what that looks like. I hope it doesn't ever come to fruition. I don't want it to come to fruition in my lifetime. I don't want it to ever happen. I don't want it to happen in my children's lifetime, ever. But World War III could happen, and it's very scary. I don't live in fear. I don't recommend that you live in fear. Perpetual fear is not good. That's chaos and fear come from the enemy. You know who, the dude downstairs. And so misery loves company, and so he's trying to ruin as many lives as possible. And war is a horrible thing. I wasn't in the military. I haven't been to battle, haven't been to war, so I only have so much of an opinion on it because I haven't experienced it. A lot of people have, and I love my patriot brothers. I'm a patriot too, but I love my veteran brothers and sisters, right? They're patriot brothers and sisters. I wasn't in the military, so I'm not a brother and sister as far as that goes, but as far as patriotism goes, I am. And I served in my own way. I've been a public servant for 30 years, and so I love the fact that they put it on the line and went overseas to do good for, not just for Uncle Sam, but for each of us. The Bible says, Jesus says too, that greater has no love than man who lays down his life for his friend. So some people have had to do that, and that's not good. It's a high cost, right? So we need to not take that for granted. The point I think I'm trying to make, and I don't feel like I'm doing such a great job tonight. I'm a little tongue-tied, it seems like. But war sucks. War is bad. War is bad, and it should be a last resort. However, if we're going to go to war, to take a line from my friend Dan Bongino, cutesy time has to be over. It's time to make a parking lot. And I know that doesn't sound good, and that's definitely not PC, but we don't need to do nation building and all this other stuff. We need to go in there and take care of business. But I don't want it to come to that. I hope you don't want it to come to that. Especially, like Carl was saying today, if you have somebody willing to do the dirty work for you, so to speak, like it's Iran and Israel are kind of going at it right now. Let's just, let's stay out of it as long as we can. We didn't jump right into World War II right away either. You didn't know. We didn't get into that bad boy till 1941. And I think it kicked off in 39 or something like that. But, the other moral of this story is this. No matter what we do as a nation, no matter what President Trump decides to do, he will be the bad guy. And that just comes with the territory. That comes with the office of the presidency. And that stinks. Because I truly believe that he loves, I've seen him, I worked for him, not for him, but I've protected his family for 3 years, and him to a degree. the man loves our country. He loves our troops. He's pro-police. He's America first. He's not one of these globalist idiots. I mean, he really does love our country. Is he perfect? Nope. Neither am I. So what's your point, right? But the man loves our country, and he's trying his best to keep us out of harm's way because this thing's got the potential to go south very quickly. I feel bad for any president who has to make those decisions, because it's just a catch-22, and you're just not going to please all the people, and that's a fact. So let's just jump back over here one more time as we start to wrap up. Mark 13:7. When you hear of wars and rumors of wars, do not be alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation. We just read that in Matthew, and there's one more over here in Luke I wanted to read. Luke 21:9. Again, when you hear of wars and uprisings, do not be frightened. These things must happen first. The end will not come right away. So here's my main message tonight. War sucks. We don't want to go to war unless we absolutely have to, because of the obvious collateral damage and just the people dying and whatever. Bad. The other thing is this. The end of the world is going to come at some time. We don't know when that is. I don't know. You don't know. Anybody that says they know, they're full of crap. Jesus even says no one knows but the Father. The angels in heaven don't know. Jesus Christ, who is God, part of the Trinity, he still doesn't know. There's God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, but only the Father knows. That's way over my head. I can't dissect that. I can't really even argue that in an articulate way if some atheist wanted to pick that apart. I just stand on the fact that, hey, I believe it's the childlike faith that works for me, and the KISS principle, keep it simple. And so for me, I just believe. I believe by faith, and that's all that really matters. So here's the thing. We are getting closer every day to the end. We don't know what that looks like. We don't know when that'll be. It could be 2 days. It could be 200 years. I don't know. I don't live in fear, but the bottom line is you got to get ready. If you're not saved, you need to get saved, because whether you die in World War III or you die in your sleep tonight, you're going to wake up in one of two places, and want to be really awesome and want to be really, really bad. And so, not trying to preach, not trying to give you a sermon, because a lot of times that turns people off, especially when you're listening to a knuckle dragger who's not really certified to preach. I just want you to know that we are inching, I believe, I think we're in the end times. I don't know, again, timetable-wise what that looks like. Some people will make fun of that and say, well, of course we are. Every day that passes, we're closer. Well, yeah, we are. Every day that passes, we're a little closer to the end. But the bottom line is, these bad things have been happening. They're going to continue to happen. And in the meantime, we just have to have some solidarity as a nation. We have to back our leaders, and mostly the president, because he's making some hard decisions. And how can you do that? Even if you don't care for him, you can pray for him, right? I prayed for Joe Biden and all these other guys. I'm not a Joe Biden fan. I didn't like Obama. I'm not a Democrat. I thought their politics stunk. But you can still pray for your leaders and hope that they get the decisions right for the betterment of our country and all those good things. So again, not a sermon, just a thought. But like I said, we are getting close to the end. So if you don't know the Lord, let me. I wasn't even going to say this. I'm gonna close with this right here. Just sorry, doggone it. I can't see without my glasses. The Romans Road to Salvation. Finally found it. If you're a non-believer and you would like to know some more about maybe what I've said, maybe you think I'm an idiot. Okay, and you're going to ignore me. Fine. Maybe you are somewhat interested. If you're one of those people that are like, let me learn more about this God you're talking about. It's called the Romans Road to Salvation. You can go to Romans 3, chapter 3, verses 10 through 12, Romans 6:23, Romans 5:8, Romans 10:9, and then Romans 5:1. That's called the Romans Road to Salvation. And it bounces around a little bit, but you need to read it in that order because it takes you through the processes of how you actually can be redeemed and saved. And it is by grace and grace alone. It is a free gift from Jesus Christ and his blood. It is not anything you or I can do to deserve it or earn it. We definitely don't deserve it, and we can't earn it either. It is a free gift, and I recommend that you take it.